Hello my friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today on this very brisk, chilly January morning, I am going to give you an update on the pond project. If you are new to this, we have a spring-fed pond here at the nursery at Creekside Nursery in Dallas, North Carolina. Zone 8A, and it is right behind our Proven Winners signature garden. Just a week or so ago, I kind of let you in on the fact that come this summer, we are going to really kind of renovate and update the pond. And while the vast majority of the big construction is going to take place during the summertime, right now, we are doing some prep work so that we can have the future garden space ready. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through, because Jackson, our 14-year-old son, spent all day yesterday doing this project and it looks amazing. So I just kind of want to walk you through, give you some plant ideas that we're going to be using in this project, just give you a great overall viewpoint of it. But just to give you an idea of where we are, of course, here is the signature garden. This is the back end of the signature garden here at the nursery. Of course, this is free and open to the public. I would encourage you, if you're in the area mid-late March, come see us, because we have over 3,000 tulip bulbs planted in this garden. It is going to be absolutely beautiful. You will notice also, if you're a follower of ours, that Brenna, our German Shepherd, she has her purple donut on. She had a little procedure done at the vet and had to have some stitches. Today is the day that the stitches come out. So that's why she's wearing the donut, is to keep those stitches in. But here we are, backside. The pond is right here. It's not that big. I mean, it's a small pond. We built the pond out of necessity because, like I said, it is a spring-fed pond. The spring is coming out of the base of this holly tree. And so we did the pond so that we could use this land. Before the spring was kind of tapped into this, it really did flood and made this entire area just a mushy, gushy mess. So we created the pond. There is an overflow pipe that goes here, goes underground, and then trickles into the creek. Have a nice steady flow at all times. It is a clay bottom pond, so meaning just a natural bottom to it. There's no liner in it. There's no plastic liner in it. And we constantly, it stays at this level, right, year round. Even in the drought and the heat of the summer, this is where it stays. It is a chilly day, like I said. I don't know if you can tell, but here we have standing water, and here we have ice. It is quite chilly, and we're going to have several days of really cool temperatures for us here in North Carolina. Now, what we are going, what has been done, let's talk about what has been done and then what we're going to do. So we wanted to really kind of clear out what I call the junk, the mess, basically starting from here and then going all the way back to this spot right here. We'll go up there, but there is an old road bed that really does cut about halfway, really like right here, and then goes across. So that old road bed, I mean, like when I say old, my daddy is quite the history buff, and who he bought this land from back in the early 70s, the neighbor who was up here on the hill, the neighbor grew up here. So I mean, we're talking, as a child, it would have been like 100 years ago, probably. And so he remembers like Model T cars driving on this road so that they could get up to that part of the property. So has been here forever. So we're kind of reclaiming this little section of the road. So what we want to do is eventually that we would have gardens that really go up the hill. The hill is our property, so the top of the hill and then it goes over the backside is our property. But for this season, we're working on from the road down. And there was a lot of junk in there that needed to come out because it just had not been maintained at all. We'll go over there and I will show you that. But Jackson and I came over here yesterday and he was like, Mama, can you just tell me, I would love to work on this project. You tell me what is staying and I'll take out the rest. And I was like, sounds like a great deal to me. So he started on the back corner and he is working his way this way. So you can see that we have some limbs in here and all this. Of course, he'll get all this cleaned up for me. But what we had is a lot in here. Of course, there's briars. There were briars that start down here and they're the climbing kind. So then they would go straight up the tree. This was a big section of them right here, kind of behind where Brenna is right now. So we have briars in here that we will have to maintain and keep those eliminated out of here. But we also have wild grapevine. So if you can see this tangled mess right here, that is the grapevine. And it is a thick stalk, y'all. So all this kind of viney stuff right here is the grapevine. And it goes up to the tippy top of the trees, and they will smother out the trees because they prevent the foliage from coming out. So we have got to get this out of the trees, and it is live. So trying to get it detangled from the top of the trees is quite challenging, but we are up for the task. So he's taking that out, and then he's taking out little trees that have absolutely no future. So for example, if you can see this little tree and we follow that tree up and then it just turns and there's no future for that tree. See how this goes right there? So that's coming out. There's a couple of them that do that. Either it's a combination of they're stretching for the light, and then of course the grapevine was all wrapped up in there and smothering the trees. So we're being very strategic on what we are taking out, and we are leaving, of course, all the big beautiful trees and even the small trees, but that they're straight. So as long as they are nice and straight and upright, then they are staying. So for example, we've got I believe this is an oak right here that goes up. See, it's skinny, but it's nice and straight and tall. So we are leaving that. And so the idea is we're not going to plant in here this season, not this spring, because particularly, and maybe he was able to get all of it, but I'm not going to count on that, is in this area right here. We had a lot. There's Brenna. That's a good girl. Get that grapevine. There was a lot of English ivy in here. In fact, you can see just a little sprig of it here at the base of this tree. And so whether the birds had brought it in, who knows where it came from, but it had kind of started to take over this area. So the idea is that for this season, which means spring, summer, early fall, that we will just simply maintain this area. So if the briars start to come back, if the ivy starts to come back, the grapevine, whatever kind of junk nuisance stuff starts to reemerge, we can go ahead and eliminate that. And so I know the question is, well, how are you going to eliminate that? And basically it's an herbicide. So we'll have to spray it to keep it out. If you've ever dealt with briars, grapevine, and English ivy, you know that they are very pesky. They have a strong will to live and to go wherever they're not supposed to be. And so we will have to use an herbicide to continually stay on that to keep that from coming back. The only thing worse that could be in here would be kudzu. Praise the Lord, we don't have kudzu here. We've got it some other areas, but we don't have anything here. So once Jackson gets done with his project in here and gets all the debris picked up, we'll get all this out of here, get it kind of roughly smoothed back out, then we can come in here and either like lay a nice layer of compost or mulch, something to kind of top dress it so that we don't have exposed soil. So get it nice and neat and tidy looking, and then therefore as the season progresses we can come in here and just keep that maintained so that come next fall we can begin planting. So the vision that I have always had, as long as we have owned this property, which has been 21 years, well before we ever had the nursery, was to develop this somehow into some type of gardens, right? Because y'all, this is just one of my favorite spots here on our property. And so I'm standing on the little road bed, and you can see this nice little road. So eventually we'll go up the hill, but we're not going to be worried about that there right now because big, beautiful trees up there. We're going to do it in little manageable spots, and so that'll be down here. But look at this. From this viewpoint up here, you can just see all sorts of just a great perspective of the nursery. Both Jackson and Jerry are like, so what are we going to do with the holly tree? Is the holly tree staying? Is the holly tree going? And my answer to that is, I don't know. We will wait and see what we actually come up with for the plans on the design of the pond. So for right now, it just stays. I told Jackson, I said, you can go ahead and limit up some, but for now it's going to stay. And then we'll just kind of go with it, and we'll see what happens from there. So standing back here to give you that perspective of when you can come through here and begin the little path as it would be, you can get an idea here. And so if you are going to be visiting Creekside here, you know, this season, this spring, early summer, you are more than welcome to come on up here and walk through it. We'll have the path ready for you. So it'll be a nice, beautiful stroll, so you can come and walk the path and just kind of get an idea and start dreaming and giving me some ideas. But it's just such a beautiful vantage point up here to see the entire, not only the signature garden, but the nursery, the barn, and just really fun. And you can just you're up on a hill, so you can see everything. So that kind of gives you an idea of the vision of what we're going to be doing. And so now let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about plants and what we're going to be putting in here. We're blessed here at Creekside because basically I have just about every kind of growing condition that you can think of here in North Carolina, Zone 8A. I have got full, hot, dry sun. I have got full, deep shade. I have got wet areas. I have got all sorts of different areas that I can plant accordingly to give you ideas and inspiration, because that is the entire goal of everything that we do here at Creekside, is to educate you and to inspire you and to give you ideas, and for you to give us ideas, because iron sharpens iron, and that is what we want to create here at with this Creekside community, right? Whether it is our online community or our community here that they come and see us, but to just talk to each other, give each other ideas, and let's think this thing through, because that is what we want to do. So if you have ideas, I would love to hear them. It was interesting when we first introduced this idea, so many of you wanted us to put a bridge over the pond. And while I understand that, one, the pond is not that big. I don't know if it appears bigger on screen. It's not that big to put a bridge over it. And then I don't think realistically that that's going to be a good option for us to do. When we revamp the pond, we will, what we're going to do is go ahead and drain the pond. So that way, because we have so many rocks that have fallen into the pond, we need to pull them back up and work on the bank and have that. We will be putting some sort of water feature in with the pond, and so we're going to do that after the signature experience, because it will be quite a construction zone here when we begin that process. And of course the signature experience is end of June, and we want everything to look as primo as possible for that event. So once that event is over, then we will begin construction on the pond, and the whole area, and it will need to be done before like October, mid-October, because that's when we would have to reseed the grass and to fix all of the mess that we made. Right now in January, of course, this is the most sun this space will ever get, because like I said, and you can see, we are blessed with tons of hardwood trees. So come springtime into summer, when these trees are all leafed out, it is some beautiful shade in here. This will get some early morning sun because basically as far as your directions, this is north. And then east is here, so when the sun comes up, this will get some nice morning sun, and then of course the sun west would be behind me, and so it gets a nice break in the afternoon. Right now there are no plans to put this on irrigation, so everything that we put in will we will need to plant accordingly for the toughness of the plant, and then of course putting it in at the right time of year so that the roots get really well established before the heat hits. So we have just unlimited areas within here to plant all sorts of just amazing things. We want to do a beautiful combination of shrubs, perennials, annuals, even trees. One of you sweet people that y'all were already thinking along the lines of what I am too, and you're like, Japanese maples, put some Japanese maples in through there. And I was like, yes. I don't know if it was a male or female. I was like, yes, sister, that would be glorious. So dotting Japanese maples through here, oh, gorgeous. So those are the kind of things that we want it to look like. A beautiful woodland garden. If you're familiar with the Blue Ridge Mountains in well, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, all of that, Tennessee, then that is kind of the look that we are going for. Jerry and I both went to college in the mountains, and so we loved our time there and would love to kind of recreate that. So very natural, not formal whatsoever, very open, very like something that you would see that would, quote, occur naturally in nature. So around the pond, what we want to do is to create beds. You can see that we have all of these rocks here. These rocks are from the property. We did not bring in any of these rocks. Years ago, when the road was used, this space with the spring here was the folks had a spring house, and they used that. Of course, that was their refrigeration. So they used these rocks for the spring house, and they even lined the road bed with the rocks. So when we were kind of, quote, reclaiming the land, we found all of these rocks, and y'all, there are a ton of them, and there are some massive ones. So that's why a lot of them have fallen in, and we want to bring them back up. But we want to create gardens around the pond. Obviously, right, with the shade, that is a great space to go ahead and use lots of hostas and ferns. In fact, we have native ferns that have just sprung up, by themselves here on the edge of the pond. So you can use like Japanese painted ferns, like the crested surf fern from Proven Winners. There is a new fern that's coming out from Proven Winners this year, Fronds Forever. So it's bigger. It still has that tassel like the painted fern, the crested surf, but it's more of a green instead of that color of the Japanese painted fern. So lots of those ostrich ferns, of course, autumn ferns, holly ferns. I can just see like ferns and hostas and brunnera and pulmonaria, all of those beautiful shade perennials that will just get bigger and better every year and come back would just give us that really beautiful lush look to it. And then, of course, coming in, you have your pops of color, right? So some impatiens would be beautiful. Of course, the rockapucos, those are those double impatiens. Just imagine them like tucked into these little corners. So this is definitely more of the shaded area, and even up to kind of where the bird feeder is, that area is definitely shade. And then as we progress around to the area of the pond where you can see where it's frozen here, as we come around, this area is going to be your full sun, right? We don't have a ton of room here between the pond and the signature garden. So anything that we put right here would be a really kind of a narrow bed, because we want to have plenty of room, for people to walk here, but also we've got to be able to get some kind of machinery through here. So whether it's the Kubota, the John Deere, any of those, the side-by-sides have to be able to get through here. So we're going to keep this relatively open. So there just may be a couple of little things, kind of like where Brenna is standing. It looks like the cold is deflating her little donut. That is quite hilarious. Yeah, we're not swimming. Boo. Brenna. Yeah, come on. We don't need to go swimming before we go to the vet. So as we come around, you can see Jackson had to, this is the table and chairs that were in the construction zone, so he moved them for me. But really, you know, you could develop this area between, this is a Rising Sun Redbud right here. We just planted it this summer. And then Jane Magnolia is over here. It's a beautiful tulip magnolia that blooms, oh, beautiful pink in the spring. But you could really develop this with lots of fun sun-loving plants. How fun would it be to have like Prince Tut or Queen Tut through here? Because of course those are the annuals, like the cypresses, the papyrus rather, papyrus, papyrus, whatever, I don't know. You know what Prince Tut is, but it's that great annual, and it is an annual. It will not survive the winter, but it loves the water, and it can be a pond plant. So we could literally plant it like right here. This is where a rock has slid into the water, but you can see this little nook right here. I could plant Prince Tut like right there in the water, and it would be, you know, get some height to it and gets the little frilly tops to it, would be gorgeous. So we could do that, you know, directly in the water and just have loads of fun all throughout here with those perennials and the annuals. I do see on this side, of course, kind of keeping it low, right? I don't want it to be super high. I want people to be able to see in, but I also need the plants to act like a natural fence to keep people from trying to get too close to the pond for obvious reasons. And so having this kind of that low, beautiful color in through here. And then as we go into the woods, this is where we're going to go into more predominantly the shrubs and those perennials. But this would be such a fun area to do. My imagination and dreaming is really starting to take off through here. Oh, there you go. A little too big for you, huh, boo? And so this is where, kind of coming around, I'm going to show you the other end of where the road begins over here. So this is what Jackson's going to work on today, is finishing this section up. He had that down there, but working towards this way. So what are some of the shrubs and the perennials that we can be using in here? So my first thought, of course, is hydrangeas. This would be an absolute perfect spot, and depending on where they are and how the sun looks once he gets things kind of cleared out. But this is where I would put my macrophylla hydrangeas and my serrata hydrangeas. Your serratas are going to be like your lace caps, right? They're very, very hardy. They do really well here in the South, and the newer varieties bloom both on old wood and new wood. So whether it's the Tough Stuff Top Fun or the Tough Stuff Aha, Tiny Tough Stuff, there's a whole lot of tough stuffs out there, but all of them are going to give you that beautiful flower power. They're going to be different sizes, so you could use all sorts, like you could use all of them together in different areas depending on where you are. So like the Tiny Tough Stuff, for example, if you're coming through and you're going to walk through right here, if you had a whole little section right here between these two trees of nothing but tiny tough stuff, right? Kind of doing that little bit of that mass planting. They're still going to get the sun because this morning sun is this way. It's going to come in, but they're going to get a break from that hot afternoon sun, which would be great. So we could put those in here. And then of course, all sorts of the macrophylla hydrangeas. Again, doing a lot of the reblooming ones. So whether it's like Let's Dance Ariba is a beautiful plant. Let's Dance Skyview, love that one. There's just so many options that we can tuck in through here. And I love the fact too that both those serratas and the macrophyllas are pH dependent. So we're going to get a beautiful range of colors. Now I love a good color specific hydrangea, and they would, like the smooth hydrangeas would do really well in here as well. So like any of your Invincibelles, Invincibelle Ruby, Invincibelle Limetta, I love that one. Somewhere there will be some limettas in here. And so all of those plants will do really well here, but they're color specific. When you have those pH dependence, you can get so many colors even on the same plant. So it just brings diversity and different colors and textures, and it's just going to be so much fun through here. So that would give us like flower power with our shrubs, right? And then of course we want some things that are beautiful evergreens. So the new like paisley pup, that is a dog hobble. Oh my gosh, y'all, so impressed with that. And that is a beautiful bicolor, like really a tricolor. It's got creams, greens, and pinks in there. Stays relatively a moderate size, so it's not going to overtake anything. Like basically, like I think it's like a 3 feet tall, 4 feet wide, but bringing in and strategically planting those in here to bring me some evergreen interest. And because they're so creamy white, it'll also bring a pop of color, brightness to maybe a shady area, because that paisley pup does really, really well in those shady conditions. So that would be a beautiful evergreen option for me. And then of course, another one that I absolutely love that would do really well in here is the new Sweet and Low Sarcococa. And this is such a great evergreen, nice deep dark green glossy leaves, totally different than paisley pup. And then depending on where we put it, if it's in those areas that are a little bit more damp and wet, it will begin to naturalize. Not crazy invasive, but it will spread. And in this kind of situation, it would be perfect for that to happen. But see, just like, look at this beautiful view right here. Like it's all been opened up, gotten the junk out of here, and you can just see down in through here. Is absolutely beautiful. I know that people are going to ask, because they always do, is, you know, how do we deal with deer? And while we do have deer on the property, deer are not a problem for us. They, please Lord, let this continue. They leave our plants alone, and we really just contribute that fact to the fact that we are not overpopulated here. We have got tons and tons and tons of natural wooded areas. So we are blessed on the property to have lots of native oak trees that produce tons of acorns. So there is so much natural native food for those deer that they leave our plants alone. They're not starving, they're not hungry, so they can munch to their heart's content on what the Lord has provided for them in the woods, and so they just leave our stuff alone. It's interestingly enough, where we see folks that have the worst deer pressure is actually in neighborhoods. So the deer come into the neighborhoods and basically, quote, can't get out, right? And then they just keep multiplying, and then they just start to destroy and eat all of your plants. Here, there's tons of room for them. There's tons of natural native vegetation for them to eat. And then also, we have hunters in the area, so that kind of keeps things in check as well. Jackson's coming. He's got the big bobcat, so it'll be fun to see what he's up to. But as far as, of course, perennials, any of those shade-loving perennials, I would love to have lots of hostas in here. To have, like I said, the Brunnera, the Jack of Diamonds, the Queen of Hearts, all of those just would be fantastic in here. Nothing like having a 14-year-old and a bobcat. He goes for it. He is very good and very responsible, but he still is a 14-year-old boy. And so we'll have lots of fun with those shade perennials. And like I said, the more we come out here towards the front, the more we can have those more sun-loving perennials in here. So that's going to be an area that I'm just going to have to kind of play with to see how does everything respond. Will I have enough sun here on the front edge to have, you know, echinacea and rudbeckia, you know, phlox, salvias, those kinds of things. Will I have enough sun here? And that's the beautiful thing about this year, about not planting right away, is maintaining it so I can really study and see what the conditions are through here as far as the sun, So I'm able to sit on this area for plenty of time and really get a good idea of my conditions. If you've never sun mapped your garden before, I would really encourage you to do that, especially if you're getting ready to put an investment of a lot of time and money into a garden. We want to plant it correctly, right? So one of the biggest keys that we talk to people is know your sun. What does your sun do? Do you have full sun, shade, morning sun, afternoon sun? Like, what do you have? So we encourage people to sun map. Now, this is unfortunately not the time of year to sun map because what I'm concerned about in North Carolina is your summer sun, because it's so hot, right? It's hot, it's humid. That's when the plants are going to struggle. They're not going to struggle in January. They're going to struggle in July and August. So what you can do is sun map. Pick a day that you're going to be home. Set an alarm on your phone to go off every hour. So starting about like 7 o'clock in the morning, so I would say from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Whatever area that you're looking at doing this garden, I want you to go out every hour and I want you to stand in the same spot and I want you to take a picture. Just simple. Just take a picture of that spot. So do that for 12 hours. At the end of the day, sit back and calculate, okay, this was in sun from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You're in full sun. It was in the sun from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then it was in the shade. So this is going to be that's going to be like a shade garden, right? Part sun garden. I'm in the shade up until 1 o'clock, and then from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night, it's in the full sun. Okay, that's a full sun bed in the hot afternoon, so we're going to plant accordingly. So those are the kind of things that you're going to want to do that's really going to ensure the success of your plants and your garden. Where I am, I do not want to plant a hosta that gets hot afternoon sun. It is going to absolutely fry. The opposite, I don't want to plant a panicle hydrangea that needs the sun in a spot that's very shady. You're never going to get any flowers. So there's not wrong plants, but there is wrong plant placement. So we will sun map this area this summer, and really that way then I can make the best decision on what plants to put in here. But I would love to hear your ideas. What are some things that you're like, oh Jenny, you've got to do this or do that? So please share your ideas in here. I'm going to leave Jackson here to finish the job. Miss Brenna and I are going to head to the vet and go ahead and get those stitches out. She has been such a trooper wearing her donut for the past 10 days. But she has to keep the donut on, because if not, she whips around and starts to lick at that, and we don't need those stitches pulled out. So today is the day that she gets her stitches out, and she's sitting over there just like the perfect little angel. If you have a German Shepherd, you know they can have, or any kind of dog really, rather. They have those moments, those angelic moments, and then the moments you're ready to strangle them. So right now we're in an angelic moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up to the vet, go see Dr. Dahl, get those 3 little stitches pulled out, and then she will be free of the donut. Praise the Lord. As always, we hope you found this fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.